Hi, I'm Velika Thomas, and I'm here with my bonus mom and Rusty today to talk about cauliflower. We're going to make marinated grilled cauliflower steaks and broccoli cornbread from our new Mount Calvary's cookbook, Cooking with Calvary. This was actually a cookbook that our members put together. So today we're doing the recipe, broccoli cornbread by Aunt Odessa. We're going to make a few changes to this recipe, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. So we're going to start with our cauliflower so that it can be marinating while we're doing our cornbread, and we're going to roast our garlic as well. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and turn the oven on so it could be warming up for our cauliflower, for our garlic. Okay. And I previously removed the green part from the cauliflower. It's not necessary in order to roast. However, you can leave it on because it'll give it a nice green look for presentation only, not for eating. So you want to use your nice big chef knife because raw vegetables can be tough to cut into. And we want to cut the ends off because this wouldn't hold up very well to make a steak. Okay? And we're going to cut off the other side. And that's this. Okay. All then we're going to cut this part down so we have a nice, even cauliflower, without the round edges. Now, this part of the cauliflower can actually be used for something different. We can make cauliflower rice out of this in a food processor. We could even make cauliflower chips.
That would be the next video.
Right, cauliflower chips real easy. Just season them, put them in bags with some oil and stuff, and bake them up. Nice alternative to potato chips. You know how we like our potato chips. All right, get all that trash out of the way. So we are going to make our steaks now. So when cutting for steaks, you want a nice thickness to it so they don't crumble like the ends did. But we don't want it so big to where it takes too long to grill up and get soft. So I would say about an inch. That'll be our first steak. All right. And then we'll do one more. We just cut this one in half. So we'll get 3 steaks out of this. See how that nice steak came out? And it gives it a nice restaurant quality when it's thick with the ends on it. I'm just going to cut just a little bit off. The end was a little large. So now we have cauliflower steaks. All right. Then we're going to just take our garlic and pull it apart, because what we're going to use this for is we're going to stick them in the crevices. Of our cauliflower when they're grilling. So it has a nice garlic taste to it. Throughout the whole thing. But, garlic does need to soften up some. So I'm going to pre-roast it just a little bit. But not to where it's so soft that it just, comes out. That's the best part, actually, when it just comes out that skin. But we don't want it that soft because we want it to hold up in our garlic. So we're just going to take these out. All right. All right, so we're going to take our garlic and put it in foil. And I have a little garlic and chili sesame oil. That's what I used it actually in the part that we're going to marinate for our steaks. So I'm just going to put a drizzle or 2 over the garlic. So to give a nice infusion. Just a little heat. Garlic taste, as it already is. And then we're just going to pop this in the oven. So we're going to leave that in there until we get everything, our broccoli going, and once our broccoli is in the oven, we'll take our garlic out. All right. So now we're going to get together our marinade for the cauliflower. So what I have here is 2 cups of oil. I have the 1 cup of olive oil and 1 cup of the garlic chili, sesame oil. So sesame is used for stir fry, a lot of things like that, but it's really good for vegetables also. Because it doesn't taste fishy, but it does have a nice flavor to it. Okay, so we have the 2 cups of oil that I'm going to add crushed red pepper flakes to. And that's about a tablespoon of crushed red pepper and 2 teaspoons of Tony Sachets. And I have some fresh herbs here, rosemary and thyme and oregano, Italian parsley, just all fresh herbs that make that Italian seasoning. I know a lot of people usually can't have Italian seasoning in their pantry dehydrated, and you can use those. I just love the way fresh herbs smell. You know, they're so fragrant, and then of course just the freshness of a herb gives more life, you know, to the vegetable. But if you have Italian seasoning in your cabinet, you can still use that. I would recommend crushing it before you put it in your stuff to release the oils. You know, because it gets, you know, dehydrated, so you want to release it to get that flavor, and it'll give it a nice intense flavor. So we're going to put this, and my herbs come up to all total about 4 tablespoons, and I just used, again, all the herbs that we like: basil, rosemary, sage, Italian parsley, and you can use that in any herbs that you like as well. Now, I'm not using any salt because, well, you know, we are being heart healthy, 1, and then 2, with fresh herbs, you really don't need much salt.
Enough flavor.
It brings you so much flavor and intensity that you really don't need it. And, of course, you always have to have fresh lemon juice, especially with oils, because, you know, it gives it that nice acidity, but and the flavor pops those herbs as well without having the salt to it. So we are going to use fresh lemon juice. We're going to just give this a whisk. And we're going to pour this on top of our cauliflower steaks. We're going to marinate while we are making, yes, look how beautiful that is. And we're making our broccoli. Okay. And I'm just going to put the rosemary on top. You know, rosemary is fragrant in itself. And again, you know, it can stay whole, because once we grill it, you know, it'll just cook right into there. Okay? All right, so now we're going to move over to our broccoli cornbread while that marinates.
Great.
So this is our marinated cauliflower steaks. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and put these in bags so they can be marinating while we're doing the broccoli casserole. Okay, so now we're going to do broccoli cornbread by Aunt Odessa. Now, Aunt Odessa's recipe calls for jiffy cornbread, but I'm going to be using gluten-free cornbread. I'm going to be using my father's gluten-free cornbread because he doesn't eat gluten. All right.
Thanks for your consideration.
So we're going to use, hers calls for 2 packages of Jiffy, which is about 16 ounces, which is what this is. And this is just HEB brand, chemical-free, you know, no GMOs, all those good things. So we're trying to have this a heart-healthy recipe, right, Dad?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. I'll cut this open. And, oh, however, before I actually use the cornbread mix, what I'm going to do is beat in I'm going to do my eggs and cottage cheese. Her recipe also, butter, calls for 4 eggs, butter, and cottage cheese. Now, I'm not a fan of cottage cheese. I actually prefer ricotta because ricotta is more creamy and it's a little grainier, but it has a nice, sweet little taste to it. It makes it nice and fluffy. However, this is a heart-healthy recipe, so we are going to use cottage cheese, which has more protein and less fat, less calories. So we're going to use the cottage cheese in this recipe. But it will still make it fluffy and moist, which is what we want. So I'm going to mix this first, just to give it a nice mix. I'm not going to over mix it. I just want everything blended and kind of also break up the small curds of the cottage cheese. Because if you don't, once it bakes up, what'll happen is you'll see that cottage cheese in your cornbread. So we're just going to mix this up. And actually, if you don't tell anyone it's cottage cheese in the recipe, they will never know. So you can pull one over on your family. Give them a healthy option without knowing it. Okay, so now I'm going to add my cornbread. And give this a mix again, just until it's incorporated. Now, Odessa's recipe does call for a little milk if necessary. And I do think I am going to use a little milk. Rusty gave me the nod. Yes, add milk. So add some milk here. I'm going to add just a little more. And this, actually, I'm just going to add, that's about a 1/4 cup of milk that I added to that.
That's good.
Yes.
So the consistency is a little thick.
It's a thick consistency, and which means this is gonna, rise nice and fluffy. Especially with that that cottage cheese, it's gonna make it really moist.
And you won't be able to taste the cottage cheese.
And you will not be able to taste the cottage cheese. And she also calls for 8 to 10 ounces of broccoli. And I'm just gonna stir that in, fold it. Now, I'm going to tell you what I smell right now. I don't know if you guys can smell it, but it is so buttery. This is really buttery smelling.
Good.
Yes, smells very rich.
Need no more milk.
You think I should add more milk?
Yes.
Okay. I need a little bit more milk, Mom. In the fridge. I'm going to add a little bit more milk to this. So this was the 4th cup. It was a 4th cup of milk that we added to the 16 ounces of cornbread mix. Two cups. It was 2 sticks of butter and 8 ounces of cottage cheese. So now we're going to add, I guess, about another. I'm going to 2 tablespoons. That's about 1 tablespoon, 2 tablespoons, and let me mix this together. And let's see how our consistency looks now. Okay, it's getting still pretty thick, so we're going to add a little more, 2 more tablespoons. So now we're at about a 1/4 cup and 4 tablespoons. And it is, again, she does want us to have a thick mixture, but I think we're going to just thin it out just one more time, and that'll be it. So that would have brought us to a 1/2 cup of milk. And it could also be the difference between the gluten-free and Jiffy, because gluten-free, doesn't have obviously the gluten to make it rise, so it can be a little bit more dense and more thick. So that could be the difference also with this recipe than just regular Jiffy. Now, if we didn't have the gluten-free here today, I would have actually used vegetarian Jiffy. This Jiffy, yes, carries, they do a vegetarian cornbread mix, which I think is much better, especially if you want to make this a vegetarian or vegan dish, because you can substitute the milk and the cottage cheese and eggs for smashed bananas or applesauce. So yes,
cornbread.
That's right. That's right. So to give it the sweetness, and the cornbread binds it together. I mean, the bananas bind it together. Yes. So this could become a strictly vegan dish with that vegetarian Jiffy.
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So now I sprayed the pan, and I'm going to spread it in here so we can pop it in the oven. And that garlic is smelling so good.
It is.
Yes. So that garlic is ready. Now again, I'm using gluten-free cornbread mix, so it's not gonna look exactly like the Jiffy would, but this is a healthier option to those who don't use gluten, who don't eat gluten. And then the vegetarian jiffy would be an option to those who want a vegetarian option. All right. So now our cornbread is ready. We're going to put this in the oven and take our garlic out. Check on that because it is smelling so good. And we just put it in foil with a little oil for it to roast in there. It smells delicious. We're going to put our cornbread in for 20 minutes while we go back to our cauliflower. And we're going to turn our oven up because we had it down at 350 for the garlic. We're going to turn this up to 400 for our cornbread. All right.
Great.
Okay, so we have taken our garlic out of the oven, and I have already peeled some of them, but I just wanted to keep some together so you could see just how easy they are just to come right out of their skin. And they just come out whole. You have whole, nice soft garlic, but not too soft because we want to put it inside of our cauliflower steaks. But it's soft enough to where it will cook with it as the cauliflower cooks. And so we're just going to take these last two out. And then, all right, that's our garlic. So now we're going to take our cauliflower steaks out that have been marinating. Oh, the smells so good with the herbs. And all the seasonings with that fresh garlic. Now, one of our steaks did come apart, which is okay because you can have, smaller steaks here. So that's just fine also. And they were getting all that seasoning on there. Get these out. All right. And we're going to use all this marinade when we get them on the grill. So we're going to keep that. So we're going to turn our indoor grill to medium on both sides. I'm going to do, medium low. They don't have to be very high because we are going to let these cook on both sides for about 3 to 4 minutes. We'll see how they're looking as the cooking goes along. Now, if you did not want to use your grill on top of your stove, you can always put them in your oven. You put them in the oven at about 400 for 5 minutes, and you would check both sides to make sure they, because they're going to brown nicely. So you want to make sure that they're brown on both sides. So you would flip them in the oven as well. All right. So we have oil on them already. So we're going to put them on the grill, and then we're going to pour our marinade back on them so that they can be nice and juicy. Now we're going to just put our garlic just randomly, yep, within the crevices.
You don't chop them or anything.
You don't need to chop them. Here, garlic is so good whole, and then when they're soft like that, and you remember we infused them with some oil,
right?
So we're just going to stick those in different holes. Yep, it'll be perfect. And then we're going to put our oil right on top. Beautiful. And those fresh herbs. Okay. And we're going to let these cook for about 3 to 4 minutes. So these are rather thick, as you can see. So we'll probably give these 4. You can see those. Can you see those thickness? That thickness here. Yeah, it's looking good. Okay. So I want to talk about the health benefits actually of cauliflower while we wait for these to go ahead and grill up. So cauliflower is actually a very beneficial vegetable. It is high in antioxidants. It also reduces inflammation. And it has a lot of vitamin C. It actually gives us 70% of our daily dose of vitamin C. So 1 cup of cauliflower takes care of our vitamin C, antioxidants, and inflammation. People only knew how great cauliflower was, they would eat more of it. And I was saying earlier how we could do different things with cauliflower. So these small pieces, we could still grill these like this, or we could cut these smaller and put them in a Ziploc bag like we had before, with oil and herbs and seasoning with some nutritional yeast. And we could put those on parchment like this, on paper, and roast those in the oven. And it would make them nice and crispy. And it becomes a healthy alternative to a chip. Yeah. So these are coming along nicely. So we're just going to let these grill for just a little bit more. And we'll be right back. Okay, our cauliflower is still cooking up nicely. And I just wanted to get closer so we could see how that's coming. It smells delicious. And we're giving that some time to cook on one side, and then we're going to flip that over. Okay, and I just wanted to check our cornbread. Oh yeah, it's looking nice and golden. We have about 10 more minutes left on that. Okay, so we are going to check to see how our cauliflower steak is looking. Smells delicious. Just give it a flip here. Oh yes,
That's good.
it's looking very good. Now one of them has fallen apart, but that's alright. You can still flip it and roast it, grill this. Oh yeah. Nice. Alright, so we're going to let that cook on the other side. And let's give our cornbread a look. Oh, look at this cornbread. Nice and golden with the broccoli on it. Delicious. Smells rich and buttery. So we're going to let this cool down while we continue with our cauliflower steaks. Alright, so we're going to plate our cauliflower. It has been cooking for about 4 minutes on each side. Oh yes, that looks delicious. We'll get our garlic here into there. The aroma, and we're going to go ahead and turn the fire on. The aroma of the rosemary and the sage, everything just smells so good. And the thyme. Okay, I'm going to plate the next one here. Alright. Get all the remnants of the garlic. So it doesn't have to be perfect, obviously, to eat. Still looks and smells delicious with our roasted garlic, our fresh herbs. This is our marinated cauliflower steaks.
Right.
Nice, healthy vegetable. It's a surprise vegetable because it has so many antioxidants and great amount of vitamin C. And so we are going to wait for our cornbread, and we're going to taste everything at the same time. All right, we're going to cut into this cornbread. And, oh, it's very light and airy and fluffy. Just going to take a corner here. Get this out so we can taste how good this is. Oh, look at that.
Perfect.
I'm going to move it to our plate over here. And I'm going to take...
Go.
All right, so we're going to get some broccoli. We're just going to take a little bit along with the garlic and put it on our plate just so we can taste that. All right, and let's see how this tastes. That is very rich and buttery. It has a hint of the broccoli taste. Cannot taste this cottage cheese at all. A hint of sweetness. And this is the gluten-free recipe, the gluten-free cornbread mix that we used, and it's very good. So let's taste the cauliflower. Of course, that garlic is delicious. Has a hint of spice. The fresh herbs are coming through. Very delicious.
And very healthy.
And very healthy. So this is our broccoli cornbread, courtesy of Aunt Odessa, and marinated grilled cauliflower steaks. Well, thank you for joining us today. I'm Velika Thomas.